Hi everyone, how you doing? It's Russell. Welcome to the Reading Fabricator. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all reading lots of books. And today I'm sort of stepping out of my comfort zone a little bit. I generally try to read, literary fiction for the most part. But to be honest with you, I cannot remember a time where I actually read a crime or thriller book. It's been many, many years. It's just something I've sort of pushed to the wayside. And based on the amount of comments I got on my previous video of recommendations, there's quite a few different genres that are going on in there. So it's quite an eclectic list. And one person recommended I read the LA Quartet by James Ellroy, which really piqued my interest because the first book in that series is The Black Dahlia. So that being a crime book, I thought I'd better ease my way into it by reading something shorter, maybe a little bit simpler, but by an author who I've actually read before, and that is Dennis Lehane, or Dennis Lehane, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, a Bostonian native who's had a very successful career. He's done quite well for himself, and a lot of his books are highly successful, generally acclaimed, and quite popular among the masses, particularly in America, very mainstream author. Especially with his Kenzie and Gennaro series, and even the book Shutter Island, which is probably the book that he's most well known for. It's the only book of his that I've read. I actually really like Shutter Island, even though I can't remember much of the book itself. I just remember at the time really falling for its really haunting premise and everything that succeeds that. It's a really good book. I highly recommend Shutter Island. But being that it's been so many years, I thought I'd dip my toes back into the genre by reading a lesser-known book by him, a book called The Drop, which it was initially a short story called Animal Rescue from a collection of which the title of the book eludes me. But then when he was translating it into a screenplay, which he retitled The Drop, he decided to expand upon that and turn it into a novel-length form. Quite a short novel. It's only about 200 pages, so it's very easily readable. You can get through it in a short period of time. I know I did. And I was enthralled for every minute of it. As a way to dip my toes back into crime and thriller genre fiction, this was a good place to start, and I do recommend this book. It kept me captivated throughout the whole thing. There are many little subplots that are going on that go in all sorts of directions, but are always in conjunction with the main plot that's going on in the book, and they all resolve themselves in quite fascinating ways. It's like a spider web, all these different characters that are just entangled in this mess in this short period of time of a 200-page book, and the resolutions and the revelations that come from that. It's very tightly plotted. It's a very crisp book, if there's any way of being able to put that word as a definition for this work. It's taut, it's tight. Nothing is put to waste in this thing. And if you're a fan of the movie, and I know I watched the movie many years ago, but I figured I'd give the book another read. And the book expands upon the movie in many ways that you think it wouldn't. It takes a lot of characters in that movie and gives it a backstory. In fact, there's a fair few times where there will be interval chapters which give you a backstory for different characters, of which the movie sort of just glosses over. The tale of a bartender by the name of Bob Saganowski, who works at a place called Cousin Marv's Bar, which is run by his cousin Marv. He used to own it, but eventually was bought out by the Chechen mafia from Chechnya, which is a sort of small republic in Georgia, Russia. And the reason for the name The Drop is because every so often a bar will be picked that is owned by this Chechen mafia, and it will be the place where for one night all the illegal money from criminal organizations will come through this bar, and it'll be used as a pickup point for the mafia. And at one point, this bar is used as the pickup point for a very important plot point towards the end of the book. That's just one plot. The other plot involves him finding a pit bull in the trash. He's walking home one night after doing his bartending deeds, after going to mass. He goes to church almost every day. He sort of lives a lonely, almost haunted life. You get a sense that this guy has a history, but he's so introverted and quietly spoken that you can just sense this rage that's inside him that he just refuses to let out. And throughout the whole book, you're waiting for him to explode. You're just waiting for it. It's quite tantalizing as a reader to be able to come across a character like this. He's one of the more memorable characters that I've read in a book in quite some time. Anyway, he walks home one night. It's during a chilly night in the book. It's in Boston, but in the movie it's Brooklyn. And he finds a pit bull in the trash that's been severely beaten and left for dead. He initially mistakes it for a boxer, and then a neighbor of which the trash cans belong to, pokes her head into his business to find out why he's going through her trash. She is Nadia, and she becomes a prominent side character in the story and becomes involved with Bob. And she used to work at an animal shelter, and so she gives him the necessities to be able to help look after a dog because he's never owned a pet in his life. And it's these interactions that he has with the dog, with Nadia, with his cousin Marv, with the Chechen mafia. You just get little hints about this guy, little tiny hints, and even with a certain detective Torres, who he knows through the church. They go to the same mass together, and they've never actually spoken to one another, but always exchanged nods and pleasantries. And all these characters, among various other side characters, just become involved in Bob's life. What the third plot point involves two guys who one night decide to rob the bar. And these two characters know that it's a drop bar, so they know that the inherent risk of trying to do this, but they do it anyway. And so there's the plot point of the Chechen Mafia basically advising Marv and Bob to get the money back to figure out who did it. So now you've got 3 plot points, and they're all weaving and intersecting. The interesting thing about it is that they're all connected. Those 2 characters are connected to another character who's connected to this character who's connected to that character. So everything is just weaving in and out. The 4th plot point involves a character by the name of Eric Deeds, who claims to be the owner of the dog that's been left for dead. He comes into the narrative quite slowly, not abruptly, but quite slowly, and eventually he forms the profile as the primary antagonist of the novel, the antagonist to Bob. And you get a sense from this character here, especially from his backstory, and especially from his backstory. There's a chapter, probably the longest chapter in the book, that's dedicated to Eric Deeds himself, which details his time spent in South Carolina in a prison, of which he was sexually assaulted by his cellmate, and then his subsequent revenge on that cellmate when he got out of prison, which led him to becoming a mass murderer. And then following him from where he committed the murders, going back to Boston with a list of things to do, with a list of things to help him get away with life as a criminal. And one of those things on the list is actually get a dog. The other 2 backstory chapters, one is dedicated to Detective Torres. You find out who he is as a man, his affiliations with various other cops and all that sort of thing in the Bostonian Police Department. And there's a third one, and the character eludes me. I can't remember if it's Nadia or Cousin Marv. I think it's Cousin Marv. There's a backstory involving him as well, and details his life as a kid in the Boston neighborhoods. And it's all, as I said before, it's all concurrent and interwoven. So there's no waste in this book at all. Everything is there for a reason, and that's not something you come across in a book very often. You'll always find little bits and pieces of certain books, particularly the long ones, indeed, where you'll read it and go, well, it's a good book, but that part was probably not needed. I didn't find any fat, so to speak. The fat is probably the right word to say when it comes to this book. I didn't find any fat to trim off this book. It was just everything was there for a reason, and it starts off as sort of a drama, an introspective drama, almost like a character study of Bob Saganowski, and then it expands into crime and thriller until eventually it gets to the final confrontation, which takes place on Super Bowl night, where the bar is used as the drop bar, and many thousands, if not I think over $1 million, is put in that bar there, which leads to all the affiliations coming together. And that's as much as I'm going to say, because I think you should give this a go. And it is one of Dennis Lehane's probably lesser known works. He's more well known for Gone Baby Gone, or Shutter Island, or Mystic River, or The Given Day. I've only read one of those 4, so I'm still quite a rookie when it comes to Dennis's work. And this does make me want to go out and read more work by him. It makes me want to invest in his bibliography. Just see how he progresses as a writer. Maybe I should start with the first book, I think, in the series, which is A Drink Before the War, and just see how he moved along as a writer, how he got to grips with his writing style, how it improved. Because from what I hear, The Given Day, which is the first in another series, I can't remember who the main character is in that book, but I hear The Given Day is considered his best work, and it's a bit of historical fiction as well. So he's yet to let me down. This is 2 for 2 now. And there's empathy to be found in the main character of Bob. He's an empathetic character, but as I said before, there is an anger inside him that is waiting to be let loose. You were waiting the whole book for him to explode, and there are secrets that come to be revealed about him at the end of the book that almost make your jaw drop. I mean, I guess you can see it coming from a mile away, but in terms of the character development, it really expands upon him, makes him a real third-dimensional character, really a real flawed and profound person amongst all these criminals and all these misfits, so to speak. And seeing his relationship evolve with Nadia, the neighbor, is quite beautiful as well. And seeing him come to grips with owning a dog as well. There's lots of little things in this book that are chef kiss immaculate. It's really a sum of its parts. I mean, I don't love this book. I still think it's a really good book, but there's just individual moments throughout that it kept me reading, it kept me enthralled, it kept me captivated. It is taut, it is tightly plotted, everything comes to a gradual end, and it's a good way to spend a couple of hours reading this book. At least I think it was. And I'm also a fan of the movie as well. I actually really like the movie, and if you've seen the movie as well, or if you've even read The Drop, then let me know what you think below, because I'd be glad to hear about it. If you have any recommendations for Dennis Lehane's work, or Dennis Lehane, I still don't know how to pronounce his last name, but if you have any recommendations about his work and books by him that you think I should read, then also let me know in the comments below as well, because I really want to get more involved in crime and thriller fiction. It seems like an easy way to just spend multiple hours just getting lost in the plot developments of it all. Just seeing your brain just do the clockwork machinations of figuring things out. I found that just to be the most enthralling part about reading this book. It's just piecing things together. And if that's what all the crime and fiction and thriller fiction books are like, then I'm in for a treat. I'm really looking forward to my journey along this pathway, this new pathway that I've opened when it comes to a different genre of books. I hear John le Carre's a good one to get into as well, The Little Drummer Girl. That's supposed to be quite a good book. And as I said before, James Ellroy. Someone on the previous video mentioned James Ellroy with the LA Quartet. So I'm really instinctively interested in probably getting to the Black Dahlia next. And also hear that LA Confidential in that series is very good as well. This has been a good read. I highly recommend it. It's not long, so you should be able to get through it in a short amount of time. And once you finish the book, then go watch the movie and see what you make of that as well. I know I liked it, so hopefully you do too. Thank you very much, and see you on the next one. Bye.